Good morning, everyone. Very first, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. And this webinar is brought to you by Infragistics, and my name is Dhananjay Kumar. In today's webinar, we are going to talk in detail about all advanced concepts of Angular components. Since Angular is new now, we already know that how we can create a basic component, how we can consume a service inside a component, how we can how to components can talk to each other using input, output, event emitter, template reference variable, etc. The purpose of this webinar is to go beyond those basic topics. Today, we will cover some of the topics which are considered as advanced topics of components. We are going to cover, as on your screen you can see, we would be covering content projection. It is very important topic. You need to know that when you need to create new component and when you want to project HTML, different types of HTML to the same component. So that is the topic one which we are going to cover. Then we'll move to ContentChild and ViewChild, and we'll see that how ng after view init, how ng after content init, and everything works. And then we'll move to dynamic component creation. So this is agenda for the day, and just relax. We are recording also the webinar, so if you are not able to follow along, you will have webinar recorded available to you later to view and learn. Great. So just as of my introduction, my name is Dhananjay Kumar, and I work as developer evangelist for Infragistics, and I'm based out of India. I'm a Microsoft MVP since 2010, and I also run a community of JavaScript developers that is called Geek97. So this is me as my introduction, and at the end of this webinar, I'll share my email address with you also, that if you need any further help in your learning, you can very much send me email. Before we go to the learning, I would like to introduce you, if you have not already heard about it, about Ignite UI for Angular. Now, Ignite UI is a jQuery based library by Infragistics, which you can use inside your jQuery project, inside your Java, HTML, ASP.NET, MVC, PHP, anywhere you can use that. Ignite UI has more than 100 control set. Like for example, if you want a grid which can work with thousands of record with virtualization, pagination, sorting, and all those with very short, very less line of code, you can very much check out Ignite UI. So Ignite UI has been around for long, and it is a jQuery based library. However, seeing popularity of Angular, what we have done, that we have created another version of Ignite UI called Ignite UI for Angular, and this is based on Angular material, and this is complete native Angular components. So far we have more than 40 native Angular components, which you can check out on these URLs, and all those components and samples are open source on GitHub as well, which you can go and check github.com/igniteui/igniteui Angular. So I request you, and I strongly recommend you, that please check Ignite UI for Angular if you are an Angular developer. It will really speed up your development very much. So here, if I go, this is if you go to infragistics.com and click on developers, and then you have Ignite UI for Angular. We are on this page, and here you see that we have these awesome grids and other components which you can check on our GitHub page. These many components, and all these are material based, Angular material based components. So we have these many components, and we have these many directives which you can use in your project. So please check it out. And one thing is that now Ignite UI is available as as Ignite UI CLI as well. So to use all these R components, you only need to know few commands of Ignite UI, create a Ignite UI projects for Angular. You just have to run a Ignite UI CLI command. If for jQuery, you just have to run a Ignite UI CLI command to do that. So please go through this GitHub page, and also from here you can see that you can browse to many reference applications and examples of Angular components and directives. Also, we have a free Angular ebook available on our website, so feel free to download that. That has more than 60 chapters which you can download for free, learn Angular. And of course, you can keep joining our Angular webinars for further running. So please check it out. And Ignite UI for Angular is open source. However, Ignite UI for Angular for you can go through the licensing and all, that is $695, and if you go for Ignite UI for JavaScript, that is $899. The major difference between Ignite UI for Angular and Ignite UI for JavaScript is Ignite UI for Angular can only be used inside Angular application. However, Ignite UI for JavaScript can be used anywhere. That is a jQuery based library. You can use that with your ASP.NET MVC project. You can use that in normal HTML5 project. You can use that in Angular project. You can use that in React project, and so on. So please check it out. And if you have any further questions, let us know. Also, I want to draw your attention to our blog, uh, and we have a lot of content on our blog. So please go to infagistics.com/community/blog, and here you see that, like, if you want to learn how to create a custom validator in Angular reactive form, you have a blog post for that. If you want to see that how you can work with output and event emitter in Angular, there's a blog post on that. What is host binding, what is host listener, there's a blog post for that. So please go and check out our blog also. That has a lot of good content which you can use in your learning. So we provide you good products to speed up your development process. We provide you free blog where you can go and learn. We provide you these kind of free webinars where you come and we learn together. So feel free to check infragistics.com, and if you have any queries, you can write to us. Great. So let us go back to our webinar. So as you see that today we are going to cover those 4 topics like content projection. We are going to cover ViewChild, ContentChild. We are going to cover ViewChildren, ContentChildren, and then finally we'll go to dynamic component creation. And I have not put any theoretical slide. Everything is going to be code. So we are going to write a lot of codes to understand these advanced Angular concepts. So please be with me, go line by line with me, and if you have any queries, you can write me back. And of course, this webinar would be available for you to view later. So let's start. Great. So what I'm going to do here, just one question before we move ahead, that you are able to view my screen clearly. Please let us know. Do you able to view my screen clearly? Great. Do you able to hear me clearly? Yes, great. Good. So here we are. Is it this black theme is okay, or you want white theme? Which theme you prefer for this webinar? Should we go for black or white? Black. Great. Sachin, you may want to see your screen setting, because everyone is able to see the screen. You are only not able to see the screen. So please, you may want to log in again. Okay. Great. So what I have done, I have created a very simple Angular project using Angular CLI. It does not have anything. It has only one app.component.ts that has a title, property, and then we are displaying that here, right here, and there's nothing much in this project, and we are getting output, welcome to advanced component demo. Now we are going to build all our application on top of this particular project. So first, what we are going to cover, we are going to cover content projection. For that, let me do one thing. Let me close this guy here. And so first demo which we are going to understand is what is content projection and why you need that. Okay, so that is your demo number 1. And give me a sec such that I just start demo for you. Great. So what I'm going to do here to make you understand content projection, I have created a component called authForm.component here. This component has nothing right now. This component we have created a component called authForm component that has nothing but a form, and here you see that in this form that is a template driven form, and in that form what we have a label which is saying that email address, input type email, and then we have a password which is saying that like password, and then we have a button, and on that button we are trying to display that, right? And here instead of displaying this title, what we are going to say that this button is a login button, and here we are saying that this is a login form. Great. And in this form, what we want to emit the event when user will when user click on the button. So for that, what we are going to do, we are going to here use output decorator. And if you are new to Angular, then output decorator is used to emit event outside the component to the parent component. So wherever we will use this auth from component, since we are emitting submitting event, what would happen that we can handle this submitted event outside this particular component. So that's why we are using output. So here in line number 24, I have created an event called submitted, which is emitting with the type user. So we need to make a user here. So you see that I have already one user type called and that has an email and password. So what we got to do, we got to go here and say that import user from user. So here we are importing user type, right? And what we are saying that here that create an event and that event will emit the type user. Then we have a function here on submit, and then here we are emitting that value whatever is passed from this particular form. And on the form ng submit, we are calling this on submit, and then inside that passing the value, and then we are emitting that. So this is a very simple form, very simple component which has one form, and then on clicking of that form, we are emitting an event which will handle outside this. Now let us see that how we can use this form, use this particular component. To use this particular component, what we got to do, on the app.module.ts, in line number 7 we need to import that, and then in line number 12 we need to declare that. So we have imported that inside the module and declared that. Now to use this particular event, this particular component, the component name is authForm. We want to use that on app.component.html. So we'll go to app.component.html, and here we'll say that, hey, we want to use authForm, right? So file, save all, and if I go here, you see that we have this login email address and password, right? So we are able to use that particular component. Now assume a scenario that you want to use the same form for other purpose as well. If you want, like what we want, that for login and as well as for sign up, we are going to ask the same question to our users, that we are going to tell our users that provide us email address and provide us password for login also and for sign up also. So if you want to use the same form for sign up, what you got to do, you can take this form here, and component here, and you can say that, hey, I want to first use it for let us say login first time, and second time I want to use it for join us, like sign up. Now what I'm trying to do here, please take a step back and understand that I'm trying to use the same component auth form for both the purpose. I want to use it for login as well as sign up both. You do have a choice that you can go and create a login component as well as a very different sign up component. So you'll have two components and you can use that. But here we are trying to use the same component for two different purposes. So right now, if I go and show you as an output, you see that we have login and we have again join us. But this login and this login button, right? This login text and this login button is very much hard coded right now. We do not want, like for join us, here we want join us or sign up button. How to do that? To do that, we should able to pass something from here, right? That, hey, this auth form is for login and this auth form is for join us. We should able to pass some information right from here to this auth form. So here we are trying to project some content to this particular form, to this particular component, right? So here it is a normal HTML which we are trying to project to that particular component, and this is called content projection. So to do that, what we got to do, go to auth form, and here we are hard coding h3 login. Just remove that and say that ng content. Great. So what I have done here, I have changed that hard-coded h3 to ng content, and go to app.component.html, and here you say that you want to pass h3 login, and then you want to pass h3 joiners. Now what would happen, that if you look at the output now, here you see that you are able to pass that information login and joiners. So whatever HTML you are passing from app.app component is getting projected inside auth form component. This is called content projection. So when you want to reuse same component for different purpose, what would of course different purpose will have different UI, different HTML, right? Different content. So in that case, you got to pass that content inside that component, and when you do that, that is called component content projection. So here we have done that, like projected login and joiners. But still our button is login. We want this button should also be changed to login button and join us button. So to do that, what very much we can do, I'll get rid of this login and join us. We'll say that, hey, we want to pass a button as well, and that button should be for login and should be for and join us. So for that, let us go here and say that in after h3 you want to pass a button also, and that button, you can say that button is login, and same way you can take this button from here and say that here it is join us. So now you see that what I am doing inside auth form, I am passing all together two different HTML. So you can project HTML using content projection. So here I am passing this two HTML element, one h3 and one button. Now what would happen that when you go and check the output, something interesting will happen, that this login and email addresses are together. We want to first get rid of this login button as well. So go to app auth form and we may delete this, right? So here now you see that you have this login and email addresses, like these two are together. However, what we want, that this login should be right here and after that password text box, and join us should be after the password text box. This login text and login button should not be together. To do that, what we do, we use something called content projection slot. right? And how you do content projection slot. uh, so to do content projection slot, what here we will do is we will go to our auth form component, and right now here is 1 ng content. We want to project 2 content, so we'll put 2 ng content here. And on the top, what we want to project h3, so we'll say that, hey, select, so whatever h3 tag in the html from the parent component would be projected here. And for this ng content, what we want, we saying that, hey, select button, so all the button elements would be projected here. Now if you go and run this, you see that you have login here, and that button is projected in the end. However, h3 is projected here. So in this way, you can work with a content projection slot. Now, not only on the tag name, you can do content projection in different ways. So here you see that you can select the content projection by tag, which I just shown you. Other is that by class, you can put a class name and do content projection, and also by attribute. So you have 3 options. Let me give you a demo of how you can do that content projection using class name. Because what would happen that if you do using h3, so here if you have another h3, that will also get projected. Like everything h3 would get projected, and sometimes you may not want that, right? You only want certain tag to be projected. Here you see that you have 777 also got projected. So you can solve that problem by either using class name projection, or like by in content projection selecting using class name, or selecting using attribute name, right? So if you want to do using a class name, you can go here and say that, hey, right now in this form, I want to select not on basis of h3, but I want to select on basis of some class name, and that class name is header class. Now wherever in app.component html you have this class set to header class, only that would get projected, other thing will not get projected. So this time this 777 will not get projected, however only login will get projected. So there is some catch. So here what we have done, that we have put here select equal to header class, and then on the app.component we are saying h3 class equal to header class, and let us see that what error it is showing us. That's the one thing when you do live error, you do live coding. So it's saying that there's some problem in the ng part, in template parse error, which is fine. Uh, so this was the problem, right? Extra tag. So here you see that now you have the login, but you don't have 777. Also, you see that for the joiners, that joiners header is not anymore projected, because for joiners still you are projecting in h3. However, you have not set the class name. Now your content projection selector is based on the class name. So what you got to do, if you want to project that also, you got to take this and say that, hey, class header class, and you will find now that sign up is join us is also projected. So in this way you can work with content projection, and content projection is very useful. You can project the whole you can project whole html. Even in next demo I'm going to show you that you can project whole new component as well. Great. Here it is done, and let me do one thing. Is in our app.component.ts. Right now what's happening is function f12, when we put an thing, nothing is happening. So let us go and first handle this login. Let us go and first handle this login button. Okay. um, To handle that login button, we are going to create two functions: one login, one create user, and then we will write some code to display that. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I'm going to add two functions on my app.component.ts. These are the functions: create user, created user, and create user. And then here also we need to import user from user. Okay, so right now we don't need this dot remember me, and here what we are saying that when we user will click on login user, we'll say that console.log login user and create user console.log create user, and go to your if you go to auth form component, you see that our event is submitted. So what we got to do, we got to take this event submitted and handle it in app.component.html. So in auth form, we can say that since that is an event, so we need to do event binding submitted. And here for since this is a login button, what we want to call uh, login user. So let us take this here and put and say that login user. Okay, so here we'll say login user, and also we need to enable event. Okay, and same way we'll take this submitted and go to this auth form, and here what we want to handle this create user. So select that and say that create user. So now if everything is correct, we should able to handle that. Here we'll say a.abc.com, and here password, some password, click on login. You see that in the bottom that it's login, one login is done. When you click on sign up t.t.com password something, join us, you see that it is saying that created account and a new account has been created. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we are projecting two different content to the same component, and we are handling two different functions on the parent component using output and event emitter, and this is power of content projection in Angular. So this is how you work with content projection. Here I'll take a 2-minute logical break and we'll go to next demo. In meantime, if you have any question, feel free to ask me in Q&A panel. How will you do lazy loading of components? We'll cover that later, Sagar. Thank you. Any other question on content projection, please? Any other question on content projection? What is the question, Milan? By using attribute, you want to see that how we will do selection using attribute? So we have already written a blog post on that. It is very simple. We have already written a blog post on that. I will give you link of that. Okay, Sagar, it is not mandated. It's completely your choice. And Milin, you can ping me offline as well. I'll give you the link how to use that. But it is super simple. Okay. Sagar, it is not mandatory. You can use whatever name you want, but that is the guideline you should follow. Sure, we'll take a session on NGRX also, maybe next month. Great, so let us go to the next demo. As I told you, it is going to be completely code-based webinar. I hope to each one of you now content projection is clear to you. You use content projection when you want to use same component for different purposes. When same component has different different content, you use content projection. So like the example which we have taken, we are using the same component for login and sign up both. So we are passing different HTML in that, like different button and different header. Again, in content projection, you can use the selection using tag name or class name and attribute name. We saw demo of tag name and attribute name. from your the component in which you are doing content projection. You can emit events using event emitter and output, and then you can handle them in the parent component from where you are doing the content projection, as we did in this scenario, that this login and this join us button are actually the same button in the auth form component, but they are invoking different functions. One is login function and one is created account function. So these are the main advantage of using content projection. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you that how you can project a component, project another component inside a component using ng component. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another component in our application. So let me go here and create another component called auth remember component.ts. Let me take this and say that, hey, uh, create another component called auth remember.component.ts. So here I have created another component, auth remember.component.ts, and that component is again going to be a very simple component. So what this component is doing, that in line number 1, I'm importing component event emitter and output. Then line number 3, component decorator, selector, auth remember. Then in template, it has one label and one input. In the input, there is a checkbox. So when you check that checkbox, it will give you some message that keep me logged in for this many days and other stuff, right? And then it is saying that output checked, and when we click on that checkbox, we want to emit that event. So that's why on the change event of input box, we are calling on checked, and this on checked function in line number 15 is emitting the event which we created in line number 13, and it will emit that event which we will handle in the component wherever we are going to use this auth remember component. So this is a very simple component which will just tell us that when you log in, right, it shows you that, hey, do you want us to remember your username and password? So this type of scenario we are going to implement here. And for that, what we have done, we have created another component. Now to use this auth remember component, again, we got to go to app module.ts, and the first thing what we need to do is import that guy, auth remember component, from auth remember that component. Great. And then take this from here and declare it. Okay, now we want to use this auth remember component, whatever we have created, in auth form component. So right here after this button, we want that auth remember component to be used. So what we are going to do, we are going to put here another ng content and saying that his inside this line number 19 ng content, using the tag name auth remember, what you do, you project that. And our if I go here, our component name is auth remember. So this is the selector which we are using right here auth form component. So whenever we will project that, that will be displayed, that will be projected in line number 19. Now let us go to app.component.html. Here in the login, just after this login button, what we want to use auth remember, right? So now this auth remember, which is line number 9, will get projected there in that component. So here control S, and if we see output, you see that I have that keep me logged in functionality added here for the login. Since we have not added that for join us, that's why that is not there. So this is the way you can project a component inside another component. Next, we are going to build something on top of that keep me logged in and see that how it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that in app component, I'm going to I'm in app component, what I'm going to do, I'm going to here add a new uh, property called remember me, and type of that is boolean. And what we'll say that we will create a new user, a new function. That function is saying that remember user. So whatever is the value of remember me would get whatever the value of remember me is passed will get assigned to this remember me property, and in login user will not only print user will also print this dot remember me, that whatever is the value uh, we will we will print it here, right? And then in app component HTML, in the auth remember, see auth remember component has a checked event, so we want to handle that inside app component.html. So auth remember here, we'll say that handle that checked event, and this checked event should handle this remember user. So app component.html and remember user, and that remember user will take a event as a parameter. So now if you check here, thing that a at abc.com and some password and click on login, it's saying that in the console window that right now it is not checked, so we want to we don't want to remember this login. But if we check this and say that login, now you say that it is saying true, it means we want to remember this particular login, and you see that everything is happening through content projection. So this is the way you can work with you can project a component inside another component. Great. So let us go further here, and you see that it's giving you false, true, true, false, and everything. So here again, I'll take 2-minute break to allow you to ask some questions, and next we are going to do demo on content child. So if you have any question, feel free to ask now. So question, is there any specific rule to declare property to be bi-directional communication between components? Ravi, could you rephrase your question again? I'm not able to understand what you are saying. Is there any specific rule to declare property to do bi-directional communication between components? There's no bi-directional, right? Like already your parent component can access your child component properties without doing anything, because eventually Angular is also JavaScript, and JavaScript works on lexical scoping. So if you have a component inside another component, parent component can access property of child component. But if child component wants to get some if you want to pass some information from parent component to child component, then you should use input decorator. We have used output, so emit in Angular. Sagar, you are perfectly correct. Can the event banding be done in the parent component logic, not the template? If you only do that, then there's no point of doing this content projection. The whole idea is, Murli, that this the remember me component which we created is reusable right now. So all the business logic should be part of parent component where you are using, but all the Angular logic like emitting event etc should be part of this component itself, auth remember component, such that this auth remember component can be reusable wherever you want, and wherever you are using this auth remember component, they should be able to handle that event in whatever business need they want. So that's why we should handle that inside this component only. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Murli. Then can we store the component property in cache as tuition all over the application? That is not a good idea, Jay. There are different ways to do that. However, broadcast to child components. A child component already has, if you want, as I told you, like if you want to pass information from parent component to child component, you need to use input decorator. Great. So I'll take another more questions later. Let us first go and do contain child and view child demo. Okay. So assume that in this keep me logged in, what we want that when user click on this, we want to display one message here also that you will be logged in for 30 days or 40 days or something like that. So how to work with that? To do that, in auth form component, let us go to auth form component right here, which is here, and here we are going to use something like this, that hey, you will be logged in for 30 days, so this particular message only if so message is true or false or something like that. Okay, and then in the show message here we'll say that we'll create another property called show message, type is boolean. Okay, now we want to what we got to do, we got to understand here is that we got to pass information of this show message. We got to work with this show message, which is passed, which is part of auth from component, and then manipulate it for auth remember component. So we want to access this auth remember right here in auth from component. So right now, this whatever child, whatever content you project using content projection can be accessed through through content child. So in this HTML, all this ng content right now, line number 19, line number 18, line number 9 are content child for auth form components. However, this label, this input, which is part of this component itself, is called view child. I repeat again. So every ng content is called content child, and everything which you see like this particular div, this input, this label, which is part of this particular component itself, is called view child. Now we need to work with line number 19 auth remember, because we need to access whether that particular checkbox is checked or not. And since that is an ng content, that is content child for auth from component. I hope I clarified you. Like everything which is ng content is content child. So here we need to check that whether that particular checkbox. So if I show you here, this checkbox is part of auth remember component, and we need to check that whether user is clicking on this checkbox or not, right? And this checkbox, what you see here, the whole this login thing, this is auth form component, and keep me logged in is a auth remember component, and this auth remember component is projected to auth form component. So auth remember component has become the content child of auth form component. However, this particular input box, this particular label, they are itself directly part here in line number 14, in line number 12 of auth form component. So they are called view child. I hope it is clear. So right now we want to work with auth remember. To do that, what we got, and that is content child. First you have to import content child, and after content child, content init. After content init is a lifecycle hook, which gets executed when all the contents are initialized, right? So here what I'm going to do, remember we want to access this auth remember properties and everything in the code to measure that whether the checkbox is checked or not. So for that, one thing you need to do is you need to first import auth remember component here. Okay, and since auth remember component is a content child, what we will do, we will say here that, hey, create a variable or property here in line number 31 of type content child, and the type of that is auth remember component. We gave the name remember, and then the type of that is auth remember component. We can access that inside after content init lifecycle hook. So for that, implement this here. Okay, and what you got to do, you got to say that handle ng after content init. So here we will handle ng after content init. So what we are saying that in line number 32, line number 31, we are creating a property called remember. That property is nothing but reference of content child auth remember component. All your content child is available to you in ng after content init lifecycle hook. So right now we are doing nothing but just trying to display that. So if you go now and see the output here, uh, you see that you have auth remember component right here for line number for first login form, but however for join us form you don't have the value is undefined, because if you go to the code in app component or HTML, here you see that for login form we are projecting auth remember, but for join us form we are not projecting auth remember. That's why auth remember content child is undefined for join us form. However, for login form that has some value, which you can see here. So auth remember component is here. You see that it has all these checked event which we created using event emitter, and every other information, whatever information you do have in that particular component is available right now to you. Now what we got to see that we got to measure that whether this checked is true or false, and then set the value of so message, right? So to do that, what we will do right here, go to the code again and say that in auth form component that, hey, in ng after component you check if this dot remember exists or not, because in many cases, like in joiners case, the value of this dot remember is undefined, so you don't want to do that. So we are saying that, hey, if this dot remember is exist, if this dot remember exists some value, what you do, you set the value of this dot remember dot checked, subscribe that, and whatever value is coming in the arrow function, check set that value to show message property. If you go back here again, you see that your events are event emitter, and the type of that are observable. You see here, this is observable. That's why we need to subscribe to that. And why it is observable? Because your user keep creating events. They can keep checking on that checkbox, and each time that value is checked or unchecked, you need to observe that and subscribe to the changed value and act on that. So that is the reason what we are doing in code here, that's saying that, hey, this dot remember dot checked, since it is an observable, subscribe to that, and then whatever value is coming, assign that to this dot show message. So that's why show message is boolean. And if you go to the code here, if show message is true, we'll see this message. If show message is false, then this particular message will not be displayed. So this is how you can work with content child, and go here and say that keep me logged in. You see that here the message is displayed, you will be logged in for 30 days, and then when you false, it will go away. And what is very important, you need to understand it here, is that that keep me logged in is different component that called auth remember. You are projecting that, then you are accessing that checkbox value inside auth form component. To access that, you need content child. You are using property of you are using creating a property of type content child, and then you are working around that. So this is how content child works. Let me go further and show you that how you can work with content children. So when you have more than one content child, you call it content children. So for example, right now you have only one auth remember in app.component.html. What if user is passing more than one auth remember, right? If user is passing like 3 or 4, here you see that user is like more than one auth member has been projected. There are 4 auth member projected. I'm going to get rid of this auth form. We don't need joiners now. Okay, so you see that now you have more than one content child, and this combination is called content children. To work with content children, what you got to do, first you need to import content children and query list, which I am importing here, contain children and query list. Okay, and then you need to create a property right here. So let me go here, and we don't want contain child. Let me comment that, and we are creating another called contain children or remember component, remember query list, since it is more than one content child. So you need to, that comes inside a query list. So we are saying that, hey, query list. And now how you can access that you go to ng after content init, and here we can say that if this dot remember exists, just display that this dot remember. Now you see that in the output that there should be more than a 4. You see that arrays of type 4, because we are projecting more than one content child, and that's why the value is 4, because we are projecting 4. So in this way content children works. Now if you want to query a content children, how you can do that? To query a content children, you have to go through for each, and here you can say in ng after content init that this dot remember dot for each go through each content child, and then item dot check dot subscribe, the same code which we did previously, and in this way you can query the content children. Now here, if you go keep me logged in, you see that you are getting you will be logged in for 30 days, and since we have only one div for to display that you will be logged in for 30 days, that's why it's only one div it is being displayed here. So this is the way you can work with content child and content children. Let me go here and just change that to previous code, which is this. I will just comment this content child, and in app.component.html I'll just remove this. Okay, now again I'll take a 2-minute logical break. If you have any question on content child, let me know. Content child and content children. Then we'll move to view child. Any question on content child and content children? Yes, there is one question. Um, can it apply query list for app auth component? We don't have any app auth component. Um, can we please give a practical scenario to use content children? I just so content children can be used, like for example you have multiple buttons you are projecting in a component, and you want to go through all the buttons and find out like which button is enabled, which button is disabled, right? So you need to query each button's state and perform some operation. Or for example, you are projecting a component inside a loop, and what you want that whether the particular value is set to true or particular value is set to false. So you can think of any example where you need to work on more than one component. Then you will use content children or view children. What if you want to pass a value from parent component to content child? What if we want to pass? Yeah, so if you Sagar, you are asking a very basic question. If you want to, there are two types of value, right? If you want to pass simple value like a string, like object, like array, you don't have to do all these things. Just use input decorator from parent component to content. If you want to pass a HTML template, the whole HTML, then you are using these things. Okay. It is related to content child, but normal, what is the best way to store session? I'll come to that, Akash, later. But Sagar, I hope I answered your question. Uh, okay, let us go to the next demo called view child demo. For view child demo, now assume that right now this you will be logged in for 30 days is also hard coded here in auth form component, right? This particular section is hard coded. What if we don't want to hard code it? We want to have this also as a different component, and how we can do that? So to do that, let us go and create another component here, and I'll call that component as so I'll call that as auth message component. Okay, so auth.message.component.ts, and let me just rename it to a small a and a small m. So auth message.component.ts. Okay, and this is going to be a very simple component which has nothing. Right here, this component has auth message as a selector, then you will be logged in for these many days, which we are saying, and that property is being set. So Saga, the question which you asked, that how we can pass to the projection, how we can pass data will be shown in this demo. So this is a very simple component, and to use it, very first go to app.module.ts, and here we'll say import auth message component from auth message.component, and then here just go and declare this auth message.component, right? So this is auth message.component. Now we want to use this auth message component on our auth form component. So right here on auth form component, instead of this div in ngIf, delete that, and we'll say that auth message display this particular component when so message is true, otherwise don't display it. Right now you see that auth message is not being projected from somewhere else. However, it is part of your auth form component, right? So auth message is view child for auth form component. Okay. However, auth, remember, is the content child. I hope now it is clear to you what is difference between view child and content child. Now we need to access this auth message inside auth form component, and since it is a view child, we got to work with view child and all. So for that, to work with view child, what you got to do first, right here we'll say view child and after view unit. Okay, then of course you need to import auth message component also. So go here and say auth message component. Next we need to create a view child. So we'll say view child auth message component, message auth message component, and we want to implement after view init as well. So here we'll say ng after content init and ng after view init. Okay, and ng after view init is right here, ng after view unit. Okay, so in ng after view unit, what we are saying that this dot message, and since it is a view child, that message would be available to you right here. Let us go to our output, and here you see that you have auth message component available, and that property is set to day 7. Now we want to, let us say, now we want to modify this value. We want to display that. We want to modify that. We want to pass. Right now this 7 is hard coded. What if we want to pass this value? To pass that value, what you can very much do, that you can go to ng after view unit, and since that is available to you right here, this dot message, you can say this dot message dot days equal to 30. Okay, great. Now please focus here. I'm just changing this value to, here in auth message it is set to 7. I'm changing this to 30 here because we don't want 7, we want 30, right? Control S, and here, right here, if you see that when I say that keep me logged in, I'm getting 30 days, but I'm getting some error also, and that error is saying that expression has changed after it was checked. Now how you can fix this error? If you are working with content child, what you can do, you can move this code from ng after view init to ng after content init, because that particular life cycle who gets called when content has been initialized, and if you move right now, you see that error has been gone. So this is the one way to fix it. The other way to fix it is you can very much use change detection. And let me show you that how you can work with change detection. So to work with change detection, first you have to import change detector ref. So let me go here and say that, hey, import change detector ref, and change detector is a service, so you got to inject it in the constructor. So right here in the constructor, we'll go and create a constructor for this component. We are saying that constructor private cd change detector, and we'll move this dot message dates from ng content unit to ng after view init. Okay, now again we will get error because because the value should not be, is saying that value was initially 7, now current value is 30. Even if it is working, it may cause you problem in production and all. Now what we are saying here, one way to solve this problem is that move that code to ng after content unit, but better ways to do that is right after changing this, what we'll say, we will instruct to our Angular that, hey, we have changed some value. So what you do, you run this dot cd change detector dot detect changes. So go and detect changes because changes has been done, and right here it is running. See that error has been gone. And if we do here, now we have this 30, and we are not getting error login. Here you are getting the login that is set to true. Again, you can remove that, is set to false, and everything. So this is how your view init and view child, content init and content child works. um, so this is what I have for today. Since we are running out of time, so we will leave dynamic component creation, but that is very simple. I'll write a blog post on that, and that will be published by next week. Uh, so so this is what I have for today. If you have any question, you can ask me in question and answer panel. And here is, you may want to note down these email addresses that if you have any technical queries, you can contact me at dkumar@infragistics.com. If you want to buy any of Infragistics product, please contact at sales-india@infragistics.com. And you can download these Infragistics products from infragistics.com/products/Ignite UI Angular. This has that are Ignite UI for Angular components. You can download it from here. Again, what all we covered today. Today we, if I go to our slide, that today we covered good amount of topics. Those are, so we covered content projection in content projection slot. We covered how we can project a component. Then we moved to content child. In content child we covered content child, content children, after content in it. Then we moved to view child. We also say that how change detection works and everything. And these concepts are very important for you, should and you must know it if you want to be a pro Angular developers. We have already written a blog post on content projection. So if you go to Infragistics blog, and if you go to Infragistics blog, you can find here, right here, there's a content projection. There's a content projection blog which you can go and refer. So here, let me show you that where we have written content projection blog. It should be somewhere here. And we are going to write very soon simplifying content projection in Angular, which whatever we have covered is there. Just go ahead and go step by step and you'll find everything. And we are going to write about dynamic component creation. It would be published by Wednesday next week. So feel free to refer that. And we'll be publishing about content child and view child as well. Also, recording of this webinar will be available to you by next week. And I strongly request you that go to our Ignite UI for Angular components. It is, as I told you, that it is a native Angular components based on Angular material. Check them out. It is available on GitHub also. You can send us pull request if you want to add some features or if you have some suggestions. And feel free to use our Ignite UI CLI. Like it's as cool as Angular CLI. You just run a command, a whole project would get created and everything would be fine. So this is from my side. My name is Dhananjay Kumar and I'm developer evangelist for Infragistics. And again, you may want to note down our email addresses, which is on your screen. For any technical queries, you can write to me at dkumar@infragistics.com. For any sales related queries, you can write to sales-india@infragistics.com. So we are going to stop recording now. And once again, thank you very much for your time. And we look forward to see you in next webinar in February. And if you have any particular topic you want us to cover in webinar, feel free to tweet us, feel free to send us in dkumar@infragistics.com. Thank you so much. I'll stop recording and answer some of your question before closing the webinar. Once again, thank you very much for attending the webinar. So the questions are, let me first stop recording. Panchami, if you are on the webinar, can you stop recording? I'm not able to find from where to stop recording. Just, yeah, I got it.